Testing. Okay, good evening everyone. Welcome to tonight's agenda briefing forum. This evening is not a decision-making forum. It is the briefing on the agenda for the Ordinary Council meeting, which will be held next Tuesday, the 21st of December 2023. I'd like to remind everyone in the chambers to ensure that comments are respectful to the Council and all meeting attendees, including city officers and those in our public gallery. Please note this meeting is being live streamed. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we are meeting, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and pay my respects to elders, past, present and emerging. Item 3, announcements. There are none this evening. Item 4, attendance. Councillor Sutherland has provided an apology for tonight's briefing forum, and all other councillors are present in the chamber. Item 5, disclosures of interest. Are there any councillors who would like to disclose an interest? Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 10.2.1, an impartiality interest. My son swims at Bayswater Waves. Thank you. I'll remain in the room.
Thank you. Councillor Peterson, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Item 11.1, it refers to the Maylands Peninsula Primary School, and my kids attend the school, and I'm also a member of the school's board. Impartial and none. Obviously, I'm staying in the room. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ladder.
I also have an impartial interest in 11.1. My child goes to Maylands Primary School, but I'll stay in the room.
Okay, are there any other...
Oh, yeah, sorry. And also for the Maylands revitalisation, I have a financial interest in that one, and I will leave
the room. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item 6, deputations. This evening we have deputations from Jamie Harnwell, Nick Tana, Brent Headley and Chris Barty in relation to item 11.1, notice of motion, Councillor Peterson-Pick, proposed alternative use of Gibney Reserve Pavilion for out-of-school hours care. Can I please have the first deputy come to the microphone? Please state your name and suburb. You may speak up to 5 minutes, and as we get close to the 5 minutes, I'll let you know so you can conclude.
Thank you very much. No, I don't need to hold that down, that's great. My name's Jamie Harmel. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Football West, reside in Corrine. Football West is a governing body of football, soccer here in Western Australia. We have approximately 50,000 registered players and over 200,000 participants in the game here in WA. Part of our mission is making football accessible to all, which is why we created the Football Futures Foundation to service all parts of the community, especially those that couldn't access our mainstream competitions. Since the foundation was begun, they have grown remarkably across the state and certainly here in metropolitan Perth. When the Sam Kerr Football Centre, and forgive me if I refer to it by its old name, was first thought of, first business case and first developed, the foundation didn't exist. It wasn't thought to be a part of any development. Since then, we have worked with government to try and include that through the initial building process, but unfortunately due to the excessive costs in building post-COVID, it was impossible to do so. Whilst the initial request across Gibney Reserve was 2 years, despite strong and continual engagement with federal and state government, the funding for stage 2 has still not been committed to. This has been made more difficult by the recent news with Perth Glory and the ownership, the new owners pulling out of the proposed deal. The ownership of Perth Glory has caused us challenges over the past couple of months and extended far beyond what we thought would occur. Given that we are unable to welcome the foundation at the centre, we have extended that request for 5 + 5 years to allow for the foundation to have a proper home in time at the centre. I will now hand over to the Chair of the Foundation, Nick Tana.
Please come forward.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak against the motion. My name is Nick Tana. I am the chair, as Jamie says, of the Football Foundation, and I reside in South Perth. In 1995, I created and launched Perth Glory Football Club. My vision at that time was to elevate football, then known as soccer, as to become a mainstream sport in Australia. In 2021, I was approached by Football West, the governing body in WA, to head up their newly formed Football Futures Foundation. The vision for the foundation was to enhance the lives of West Australian children and adults who experience disadvantage and marginalisation. The aim was and is to leverage the strengths of the world game of football as a tool for engagement to meet the needs of these people by delivering programs that are both inclusive and promote well-being. And mark those two words, inclusive and well-being. They will reoccur in my deputation. Football Futures Foundation is a charitable organisation and does not engage in competition. It has no interest in talent identification or football development. It is purely about one thing, and that is participation. As mentioned by Jamie Harnwell, in 2021, there was no provision for the foundation at the new Sam Kerr Football Centre. Whilst there is room in future for us in future expansion, we cannot be adequately housed as the facility stands in the medium term. The shortage of office space, storage, and the lack of usable lawn surface. Now that may not mean much to you because basically I will explain if somebody wants me to elaborate. There is an explanation. Seriously, this diminishes our ability to deliver our programs and continue on our growth trajectory. Gibney Reserve Pavilion has been the perfect facility which has allowed us to deliver our programs to date and more importantly has given us the ability to grow. Our foundation will engage thousands, if not tens of thousands, of West Australians experiencing social, mental, physical or financial disadvantage. I ask all the city councillors to consider the needs of this cohort, numbering in their thousands, as being a more worthy use of the Gibney Reserve Pavilion than the requested alternative use for the business of out-of-school hours care and continue its built-for-purpose use, that is, sports-related activities. The Football Futures Foundation will be connecting with the inclusion and diversity programs of all West Australian football clubs, international visiting clubs, the Socceroos, the Pararoos, the Olyroos, the Matildas, on all their visits. In so doing, the City of Bayswater will play a central role in all our programs by allowing us to deliver it at Gibney Reserve. The City of Bayswater, also through Gibney and us, will be at the forefront in promoting social inclusion and well-being. In closing, before I do close, I've just had some late information which we've had some research done. There are three main providers that I'm aware of in Perth.
Mr. Tyner, I'll just say you've reached 5 minutes, so if you could please conclude.
The OSHSC Club, Camp Australia and Their Care. They all have in-house school facilities. I ask you all to please consider the Council Officer's conclusion on page 123 and allow us to continue our great work with disadvantaged individuals. In opposing the motion and favourably considering the lease extension requested by Football West at Gibney. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just ask if councillors have any questions. Councillor Ossowski.
Thank you. Thank you for your deputation. Usable lawn surface, if you'd like to let us know what that means, please.
Jamie will clarify if I've made a mistake, but my understanding is that there are two synthetic pitches and there is a main pitch. The main pitch is 50% synthetic, 50% natural. We, as part of what we deliver, is a program for visually impaired, physically disadvantaged individuals that basically need what we call a mini pitch, an inflatable mini pitch. It has to be staked into the ground, otherwise we have the same incident as happened in Tasmania, and nobody wants that here in Western Australia. So the other alternative is we have to bring in heavy weights to anchor it down, and that is impractical. Here, the fact that it's lawn, I should say, at Gibney, we have the opportunity to stake into the ground and make it very secure. The pitch is approximately 60 metres or 50 metres by about 30 metres. It's not small, it is very large and it needs to be secured very, very securely. And that is why we have difficulties. And as Jamie said, we weren't thought of in 21. And some of the services and programs that we deliver are also complicated and will take another 10, 15 minutes to explain. And we just can't deliver them there. So we have to find an alternative premises if we don't get the extension at Gibney.
Any other questions, councillors? Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr Tanner and crew for coming in and making deputation. I'm a bit confused. I'm just wondering if, so I'm assuming there's other folk that are going to be coming and make deputations. Football West has access to so many facilities across West Australia. I'd assume there's loads of football, soccer pitches where they've got club rooms, facilities, grandstands that are not well utilised. Just wondering what it is that, you know, makes it so important to do that at Gibney, because you're talking about a field really, from what I understand you're saying, not really the rooms, and I'm just wondering why these two uses that we're contemplating would be incompatible.
If I understand the question correctly, my answer is that part of what we deliver is virtually infrastructure or items that we have to set up on the field. It's very difficult to do it at the football centre. It is able to be done in other venues, yes. But I dare say even the City of Bayswater has the same problem. All your venues are overcommitted as they stand now. If we have to go out there and look for elsewhere, I believe, pardon my French, but I think we've got Buckley's. We won't find a facility as good as Gibney and as good as what a legacy has already happened there and what we're prepared to create going forward. It is not long-term as in 20 years, 30 years. I hope it is, but it's up to the city to allow us that latitude in the future. But for the medium term, and I say 5 to 10 years, medium term, it is absolutely ideal in terms of what it has to offer with the change rooms, which are common, with the office space, the storage space, and the fields, all very, very close within falling over distance, as opposed to what you have at the Sam Kerr Football Centre, and indeed the opportunity doesn't exist in other venues because then they're just not available. I hope that answers the question.
I think so. Can I ask a follow-up, please?
Sure.
Yeah, if you don't mind. So is it mostly the storage space and the oval together that's the thing? What's
say
the
again?
Oh, sorry, I'm losing my mic. Is it mostly the storage space and the oval together that works? What's your office space requirements?
I've got my operating officer here. He will basically be able to elaborate shortly, but basically if you look at the three in conjunction, you have operational staff that have to be handy, you have field, and you have storage of the items that we use to facilitate our programs. All three of them go hand in hand. You can't separate them. And fine, you can have storage elsewhere, but logistically, more vehicles, more. And bearing in mind that we utilise a lot of volunteers and they become harder and harder to get. So the fact that everything is on base, it's there, absolutely ideal. It's a godsend for us, but we implore the council, or the city, I should say, please ask the providers to talk to the school. I'm sure they can duplicate the infrastructure and get maximum use out of it. I hope, I think. So please, that's all I can ask.
Any other questions, councillors? Councillor Bull.
Thank you for coming in and for the deputations. So I had a squiz at your website today and really enjoyed reading about the values, which I think are fantastic. And they include being open-minded, considerate of others and striving to be inclusive in all that you do. So my question is, would you, taking those values into consideration, go away and have a think about how you could exist and this place also support Maylands families as well for a potential co-location scenario?
Absolutely, but I'll hand that one over to my EO when he comes on the microphone. I pose the question there, please.
Any other questions for
Handball.
Mr. Tanner? No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next deputy, if you could please come forward and state your name and suburb.
Good evening, council members. My name is Brent Headley. I reside in Chewett Hill. I'm the Executive Officer of Football Futures Foundation. The purpose of this deputation is to underscore the crucial role that Gibney Reserve Pavilion plays in our foundation's mission to empower communities through football. Since our inception in 2021, our charity organisation has proven to play a pivotal role in engaging and building the capacity of targeted communities, including young people, people with disabilities and culturally diverse groups across Western Australia. Our programs, activities and events harness the universal appeal of football for social impact, and we offer the City of Bayswater community with a unique opportunity to leverage this to enhance social connection, wellbeing and cohesion. The pavilion is central to our operations. It serves as a hub for our diverse spread of programs. It facilitates remarkable access, and this is evidenced in our youth engagement and in our inclusive football programs and initiatives. To illustrate this, our disability inclusion football programs have engaged over 8,500 people in the last 24 months. And this has been instrumental in enhancing physical health, social skills and emotional wellbeing. Occupation of the pavilion is courtesy of Football West leaseholding has been pivotal in our engagement of communities. We've collaborated with local schools, we're integrating football with educational activities, and a highlight of some of our partnerships includes occupation from visiting high-profile visiting teams such as Tottenham Hotspur this year, which is evidence of how we can bring together community participants from diverse backgrounds and celebrate football's unifying power. These initiatives have not only fostered community spirit, but they've enhanced educational engagement and social interaction. Support for our foundation extends beyond our immediate on-the-pitch participants. Parents, local businesses and community leaders have all strongly endorsed our work. In recognition of our work, Western Australian Disability Sport Association this year awarded Football Futures Foundation as the Community Service Provider of the Year. And this was evidence of our broad community support. The pavilion's role in our operation underpins our commitment to inclusivity and community cohesion, and the tens of thousands within the WA football community recognise and they vocally support our mission. Without ongoing access to the pavilion, our activities, our impact and our ability to serve the City of Bayswater community would be severely jeopardised. So in conclusion, Gibney Reserve Pavilion is an incredibly important facility for our foundation, and it's a catalyst for positive change within the City of Bayswater and the broader Western Australian community. A vote in favour of this motion would subsequently end our occupation of the facility and would consider this to be a significant setback for not only our foundation but the communities in which we serve. And Chris will certainly talk to that on a personal level in a moment. We also believe that this result would represent a missed opportunity for the City of Bayswater to forge a strong and continued connection with one of Australia's leading Football for Good charitable organisations. So in closing, our organisation and the communities we represent urge the Council to consider the broader implications of our continued access to this space, recognising its critical role in fostering a vibrant, inclusive and healthy community. I thank the Council members for their time and consideration. I'm very happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much for your deputation. I'll just ask if councillors do have questions. Councillor Bull.
I believe I should ask the same question.
Go ahead.
Same question.
Yes, so as I said, the value of being open-minded, considerate to others and striving to be inclusive in all that you do, would you consider going away and having a think about how you could exist along with an out-of-school hours care operation there as well?
Yeah, we'd certainly consider it. I think, look, where we're at the moment, we have 5 staff that occupy the building. We've got a growing number of volunteers that we're bringing in, and we're also looking at ways in which we can, increase our school-based traineeship programs and the like. So we're absolutely utilising every inch of the facility as it stands, and we'd certainly like to push that to its boundaries going forward. But yeah, we're very open to working closely with the school and the broader community and looking at how we can, sort of best serve the needs of the city.
Thank you. So would you be happy to go away and have a think about it and potentially come back with an idea on before Tuesday next week on how that could actually possibly happen?
I think it'd be helpful to have a little bit more guidance in terms of what could be realistically a help for the school community. I mean, as I say, as it stands right now, we are using all aspects of the building. So to get a better understanding of what an out-of-care service provider's needs may be would give us a starting point to be able to sort of have that internal discussion, I think.
Any other questions, councillors? Councillor Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Headley. Yeah, thank you for your deputation. So what I heard, I think previously, and I think from your deputation as well, that there are three components that the foundation needs. One is using the field. Is it correct?
Field access is, yeah.
So under the motion, that can still stay, using the field. There is no change to that. The second thing is the change rooms. And under the motion, there is no change, no intention to change the change rooms, so that can still be used by the foundation. So my question is about the space. So how much space does the foundation require, and whether if there was a room available as part of the building with a separate access to the foundation to store whatever the foundation needs for the games, would that be sufficient? So the rest of the building can be used by the kids, and the rest can be used by the storage or access to whatever you guys need.
Yeah, I guess to be clear, there are no parts of the building that aren't being utilised at present. So we've got a meeting room which serves as a training and education centre, and an open space in which we're using, I guess, to support events and activities. We're currently using the facility as WA Centre for Excellence for Disability Inclusion Football Programming. So on any given week to week, we've got a number of participants that are coming in and using some of those open spaces as part of that. And again, I'll reinforce, a lot of our efforts are centred on the pitch, but equally we're doing a lot of work outside of that, and it's probably evidenced by the student placement program, which I mentioned before. The actual office spaces and meeting rooms, which are part of the facility, are utilised on a daily basis, and of course the use of the storage facilities are obviously being utilised as well. So as it stands, there really isn't a part of the building which isn't being utilised. So it would require us to, I guess, sort of go back and have a think about how we potentially could compromise the current utilisation of the facility in terms of our operations going forward. It certainly wouldn't support growth, put it that way.
Thank you. And have you mentioned that you're using it on a daily basis?
The facility, yeah.
Yeah, the facility on daily, like the space inside.
Yes, the facility is
On a
being
daily.
used on a daily
Thank you.
basis.
Thank you for that. I do actually have questions to Mr. Hanwell. And I wasn't aware that we are splitting the
That's okay. That's okay. I'll go back after we get through
Thank
the
you so
last
much.
deputation.
Thank you.
I'll just see if there are any other questions for Mr. Headley. Councillor Ladder.
For how long has it been used daily, that office space?
Well, I can only talk on behalf of Football Futures Foundation. Obviously, Football West have held the lease a lot longer. We've been operating out of that facility certainly since we vacated the West Perth facility. So that would be going on 6+ months at the moment, I would imagine. And yeah, prior to that, we were sporadically using the facility. It had probably more of a storage sort of functionality as Football West was preparing for its move out to the Sam Kerr Football Centre.
Thank you. And what kind of office hours do they keep?
It's pretty fluid because a lot of our programming exists before and after school and on weekends as well. So we don't run a typical 9 to 5 operation. We have, as I said before, a number of staff that are rolling through the facility at different times. Certainly, it would be a rarity to have 5 staff there Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, I'll be honest. But that said, as we grow, there's certainly going to be a lot more need for us to be able to utilise the facility in that capacity.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just one more, if I can. What programs have you delivered at Gibney Reserve?
Well, we've delivered all forms of our programs, albeit in different ways, I guess. So as I said, we've probably, in terms of our on-the-pitch activities, it's been quite light. We've been reluctant to transfer a lot of our programs across to the facility because of the disruption that would cause if the motion was to be successful. So we've been utilising the facility more as an operational base to this point. But the intention, as we've sort of outlined as well, is to begin to really transfer all of those programs over across on-site with clarity around what the continuation of the occupancy looks like for us.
And could you, where are those programs being run at the moment?
Statewide, from Kununurra to down south. We've activated over 20 communities this year alone. As I mentioned before, the volume's quite significant. A lot of our programs are not only based in community, but also working closely with club spaces, club environments as well.
Yeah.
School-based programs. I mean, as I said, and you will see through our website, one of our principles are very much rooted in place-based approaches. So naturally, we're not bringing all of our programs to the space, but as we continue to grow, the opportunity to bring more of those programs to Gibney as a central hub, which is very clear in terms of the community feedback, is they're looking for that central hub. Then yeah, I guess that's what excites us most about the facility.
Yes.
Is there any reason to think that the programs that are currently operating elsewhere couldn't continue to operate where they are operating?
It depends on the nature of the program. So, as an example, we deliver programs to at-risk youth, for example. So, delivering those programs in urban settings where we're responding to social issues and working closely with community partners, those programs are going to stay in those places for obvious reasons. Again, our focus very much so is on the disability inclusion space. We've got 6 programs that fall within that banner, what we call Football for All. There's no reason why every one of those programs can't be based out of Gibney going forward.
And in terms of the accessibility of that building, do you find it is adequate for those kinds of programs? Because I imagine they would need quite...
No, absolutely. It's got double doors on both sides of the building. For the change rooms, the orientation of the building, it's one of the key reasons why we're as keen as we are on the facility. It's we've got and Chris may talk to it, we've got a Western Australian Disability Access and Inclusion Advisory Committee, which has been formed and absolutely been validated in terms of the importance of the facility by that group.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, Councillor Bull?
Yeah, thanks. You mentioned a West Perth facility that you were at before 6 months ago. Can you please tell me about that one?
Yeah, so number 1, Prospect Place. It was the Department of Training. So obviously we were established by Football West, and Football West were occupying that facility at that point in time. 40 odd staff from Football West perspective, and Gibney obviously couldn't accommodate that. So we were, I guess, sort of established within the 4 walls of that facility. And as we sort of came to understand who we are and how we operate, it became quite clear that we needed to get out there and actually occupy a community facility. Hence, we moved across to Gibney when that opportunity presented.
Yeah, sorry, can you explain what the opportunity was and how it presented and when?
Well, so I mentioned before, Football West were predominantly using that facility as a storage facility in the absence of having the Sam Kerr Football Centre come online. So the opportunities for us to truly utilise those facilities, meeting rooms, education and training facilities, change rooms, and those, it wasn't change rooms because they sit outside of it, but those sorts of facilities, we couldn't get in there and actually utilise it to its full potential. It was only once Football West had made that move out to the State Football Centre, Sam Kerr Football Centre, that we had that opportunity to come in there and utilise it.
So that was 6 months ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Thanks.
Any other questions, councillors? If not, thank you for your deputation, and if Mr Barty can come forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, councillors, residents of the City of Bayswater for the opportunity to speak to this evening's notice of motion. I'm currently engaged as an ambassador for the Football Futures Foundation. However, my primary interest in the matter is as the co-founder and current team manager of the Western Australian Para-Football Program and as a person with lived experience of disability. I'm here this evening to speak to the significant amount of good that has been accomplished by Football West and the Football Futures Foundation through utilising Gibney Reserve as it is currently zoned, and how this has enhanced the amenity of the City of Bayswater more broadly. The WA Para Football Program held its first sessions in late 2010. It is a program, sorry, it's an emotional topic for me. It's a program that seeks to support athletes with cerebral palsy, acquired brain injury and stroke to improve their physical, social and psychological wellbeing through football. We are one of several programs supported by Football West and the Football Futures Foundation. Prior to having access to Gibney Reserve, our coaches paid for venue hire out of their own pocket at venues outside of the city of Bayswater. This model was not sustainable. However, when Football West ensured that the program had access to the playing fields at Gibney Reserve, the program thrived. Participation numbers grew significantly, and Football West, through the training centre, supported the professional development of our coaching staff, and the team has participated in every national championships since 2012. We have had 7 athletes represent the Australian Pararoos, which is the men's Paralympic football team. We recently had our first athlete represent the Para Matildas at the 2023 Asian Cup. However, the introduction of the Football Futures Foundation recently, through the introduction of the Football Futures Foundation recently, our players and families have been able to achieve many more milestones off the pitch, specifically in employment. Several of our players with disability have been employed by the foundation as coaches, helping to deliver their programs in the local community, whilst others have joined the community services sector. This has helped to provide them with a sustainable source of income and an opportunity to gain entry into the mainstream workforce. This is difficult enough for any young person, but more so, but more so when it is a person with disability. In fact, the foundation has had such a positive impact that 2 of our players have recently moved to Maylands so that they could be closer to their place of work. Furthermore, the foundation has been a strong advocate for the access and inclusion of people with disability. The foundation has been a driving force behind the creation of a Disability Access and Inclusion Committee for football in Western Australia. In addition to helping drive the strategic direction of football in WA, the committee acts as a platform to build the capacity of people with disability to act as leaders within their communities. The presence of the foundation is helping the City of Bayswater to achieve the stated goals in the strategic community plan, specifically creating a safe and inviting place for people to come together and empowering the community by helping them to create social connections. Whilst I understand the argument that inclusion programs could simply be relocated to the same football centre, respectfully, this does not give due consideration to the barriers that people with disability face when participating in sport and recreation. These include transport, issues such as transport. The facility at Gibney Reserve allows people with disability to continue to have a presence at a sporting facility north of the river, reducing the travel burden. Proximity to public transport, such as the Maylands train station, makes it easier for people with disability to attend programs and training sessions. Costs. The Sam Court Football Centre is currently run by Venues West, and there is a cost to participating at training and matches. Access to Gibney Reserve through the foundation and Football West has been much more affordable and accessible for people with disability. Word of mouth is also a common way that people with disability find out what's happening in the community. The various programs run by the Football Futures Foundation have helped to develop a solid social network, and and this motion, if passed, seriously jeopardises that social network for people with disability in the local area. Recent events held at the Sam Kerr Football Centre have also found that there is some work still to be done to ensure that the venue is fully accessible by all with people with disability. And speaking to the point earlier raised, our Disability Access and Inclusion Committee currently has people with cerebral palsy, power chair users, people who are blind or partially sighted, and people with intellectual disability, and all find their venue to be fully accessible. Over the years, there has been times when the venue at Gibney Reserve has not been available for our use. Our program has been, speaking to the question earlier, our program has been reliant on the goodwill of other clubs to provide access to their fields and facilities. But quite simply, sometimes there is not enough blades of grass, and that has been one of the reasons why disability participation in football has experienced slow growth until the presence of the foundation at Gibney Reserve.
Mr Barty, you've just reached 5 minutes, so if you could conclude.
Of course. If the venue is rezoned, I fear that we will once again be homeless and our future uncertain. Retaining the current zoning is an opportunity for the City of Bayswater to demonstrate its commitment towards disability access and inclusion and a vibrant, inclusive sport and recreation scene. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll just ask if councillors have any questions. Anyone? No, thank you very much for your deputation. Deputy Mayor, did you have a question for Mr Harnwell? If you don't mind, Mr Harnwell, coming up to the microphone.
Yes. Thank you, Mr Harnwell, for your deputation and for our previous conversation on this issue. So, if you recall, on the 22nd of August, you rang me after I spoke to your general manager, and you advised me that Football West's board decided to support my motion if I amended to extend the lease by 2 years. So, and obviously now you guys have a different position. Can you please take us through what happened since that moment where the board decided to support it, and now the board or whatever Football West wants something else?
Sure. Yeah, I remember that conversation. We were hopeful, and again, as I explained initially, we are working closely with state government, we are working closely with federal government, and we were hopeful that a stage 2 announcement would come to pass. That would include Football Futures Foundation as well as Perth Glory. The time it's taken, unfortunately, one, for the Perth Glory situation to firstly be resolved, and then most recently, unfortunately, to fall over again, has really jeopardised that timeline and that time frame. It's a significant investment from state and federal government to build further facilities on top, and given the current challenges and certainly the construction market as well, it's just impossible for us to have the foundation at the facility in the next 2 years. Having gone through the build the first time, it was challenging to get it ready for the Women's World Cup with a pretty hard date to finish with. To do so with no funding as of this date within 2 years is nigh on impossible.
Thank you, I appreciate that. So since that conversation that we had, we haven't spoken. And can you explain, did you have any conversations or meetings with other councillors until now?
No.
No?
No, I haven't, no.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I take the opportunity just to ask
Go
another
ahead.
question? Just interested to, you mentioned, liaising with state and federal. Just interested to hear how your discussions with the different tiers of government are going to get stage 2 delivered.
Yeah, sure. If I can speak openly, federally is a challenging conversation. I think when they took over, the budget probably wasn't quite what they thought it was. There was a significant community infrastructure investment that was announced by the federal government not long from the Matildas' successes, and we're waiting to hear how that will filter down into the state. But the local MP is certainly supportive of building a hub and a home for football at the Sam Kerr Football Centre. The state government has been extremely supportive. They've covered cost overruns in the project. They've included 5-a-sides, and most recently with the additional funding for a further 2 pitches to be built at the centre. They were having very strong and positive discussions with Perth Glory and the potential new ownership across having Glory co-located at the venue as well. But unfortunately, those conversations have now been put back fairly significantly with the announcement over the last couple of days of that ownership group withdrawing from that position. So the ultimate goal is that the Sam Kerr Football Centre will be the home of football in Western Australia. We will still require additional facilities. We don't have any other facilities. We have clubs, and majority of their grounds are owned by local councils. We have to beg, borrow and steal at times. We've had to do that through our history to gain access spaces, as Chris has said, across all of our program, not just our all abilities. So that will still and continue to be a challenge, and we still will operate across multiple metropolitan sites where possible. But certainly with Gibney Reserve, we've continued to utilise that as a learning centre for coaching courses, referee courses, talent development pathways, especially during the summer months during the week when the lighting is good and we can activate that space for a lot longer. So the space has certainly still been well utilised, but some of that programming has moved to the Sam Kerr Football Centre already. Some will stay in our more suburban facilities as well, in the clubs.
Go ahead.
Thank you. In terms of, so back in 2021 when the foundation was created, I assume there was an assumption that there would be stage 2 delivered in a more expeditious way, and so that was always going to be the place where the foundation was going to be homed?
Well, when the business case was first developed, it was it's been developed over the past 10 years. So 2019 was when the first federal commitment was made, and that was when a budget was formed as to what stage 1, if you like, would look like. There was a lot of value management that had to go in, and some items came in and out of stage 1 to go into stage 2. And now with the community fields being delivered, it's actually become stage 3. But by the time that the foundation was created, the budget had been set, the building had been set in what we could afford, or what the state government and federal government could afford to build, and there was no room to move outside of that or to expand it any further.
So when the foundation was created, there was a question mark as to where the foundation would reside.
At the time, again, the foundation has increased dramatically in its footprint. We, while had our best hopes for what that would look like, we weren't sure. We created a charitable entity, of which many fail in the first 12 months or so of existence. So we knew that there was a stage 2 coming. It's in the business case. It's there in front of both state and federal government. We were hoping that the timing would be much better, or that there would be an opportunity for Perth Glory to have temporary accommodation across the site, and that might provide further opportunity, but that unfortunately hasn't come to pass yet. But we'll continue to work with the state government on that. But it's a significant investment to reach stage 2 of the Sam Kerr Football Centre.
Okay, thanks. So there is a direct nexus between, with stage 2, there's a direct nexus between Perth Glory and what they require and what the foundation requires.
More of convenience, I would say, than a direct connection. If there is going to be an additional build, it makes sense that that build is slightly bigger rather than one being just purposely built. There's other options on site, but again, they come with their own standalone costs of a standalone building as well, where the building, if you know it at the moment, has been designed to be extended upon further.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, thank you very much for your deputation. Councillors, we've also received 5 written deputations tonight in relation to this item, 11.1 notice of motion, proposed alternative use of Gibney Reserve Pavilion. These have been provided to councillors and are available on the city's website with a list of deputations. I'll take those as read. So I now move on to item 7, questions on agenda reports. Councillors, I'll now ask for any questions on the items that were subject to a deputation. So that's 11.1, proposed alternative use of Gibney. Do councillors have any questions for the officers on this item? Councillor Bull.
Thank you. Who is the current lessee of Gibney Reserve Pavilion?
I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, it's Football West.
So can someone please explain to me how a third-party organisation is able to utilise Gibney Reserve Pavilion?
I'll go to the
list?
director.
Yep.
Through the chair, it's my understanding that it's Football West that holds the lease, and the Football Futures Foundation actually sits underneath Football West.
Sorry, I don't understand. So, Football Futures Foundation Incorporated is a separate entity. So, how is a separate entity able to utilise Gibney Reserve that has been leased to Football West? Did they seek consent and the city gave consent? How does that work?
Thank you for your question. I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, it's my understanding that they are the charitable arm of Football West, so they sit underneath the umbrella of Football West, and that's how they are able to occupy that particular building.
Okay, so I do have another question. So that means if something happens within that place, that by the foundation that results in a breach of the lease, it is actually Football West who would be liable for that, or is this other entity liable for that? I just don't understand how this works.
I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, it will be the leaseholder, so it will be Football West.
Any other questions on this item for the officers? Deputy Mayor?
Yes, thank you. I'm just trying to find out in the report, when does the lease with Football West expire? Do we know? Do we have the date?
I'll go to the director.
Thank you. I think it's January something.
Through the chair, it is January 2024, so not far away.
Thank you. My follow-up question, in the scenario that the motion is not supported by the council, what will happen then when we know that the lease will expire? What will be the process by the city?
I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, I mean, the lease will expire. In terms of what that exactly means, we'll have to get some advice and advise council in terms of what the next move would be, whether they need to vacate the premises or whether there could be some sort of interim arrangement made until there's a decision made.
Are we able to receive this advice before the meeting so we all understand what, if it's not supported, what it means? I'm specifically trying to understand whether what process a new lease will require. Do we need to go for an EOI? It's a city building, and we usually go for EOI for all city groups. And so what will be the process for that specific building? Because it's a new lease.
I'll go to the director.
Yeah, through the chair, we can find out and bring that information before the council
very
meeting.
much.
I'll just go to the CEO.
Yeah, just through the chair, that information contained with the next steps is contained within the report.
And what does it say, CEO, if you can, while I'm looking for that? I can't find next steps, but maybe you can direct me.
Page what? Page 50. Oh, it's sorry, in the hard, are you looking electronically or
Ironically,
page 50 electronically?
50?
It talks about the EOI process.
Madam Mayor, it's page 56 electronically, noted page 50 on the bottom of the agenda.
I'm actually reading, sorry, I'll just read it quickly. So there is no requirement to undertake an EOI. This is what I'm reading. Is this correct? So once the lease ends, the city will be able to award automatically a new lease to Football West without doing an EOI. Is this the situation?
I'll go to the CEO.
Yeah, Deputy Mayor, as Football West is the existing tenant and has requested the new lease for the continued tenancy of the premises, then there's no requirement for the city to first undertake the EOI process. So there's no need to test the market should it be decided that the new lease be granted to Football West under the delegation. So we can do that for that period.
Thank you. So I'm trying to understand just that process because we've seen many leases over the years and that expired, and there was a process. I'm trying to understand why this process is different to what we always did, just so we understand what will happen in January. Because we always went for an EOI, and there was a transparent process with a city building. You're saying in this one, it will be automatic leased to the same lessee.
Through the chair, I can't comment on past practices. I'd need to take that on notice in terms of trying to ascertain why. I would probably, I could probably hazard a guess that it may be where the tenancy, they haven't elected to uptake an extension of it, so they've relinquished their lease. So therefore, the city would go out to an EOI process and then seek expressions of interest for new tenancies in relation to the facility.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this item? If not, I'll move on then. So I haven't received any notice from councillors on any other items for questions. So I'll just go, if you do have questions on any other items, please let me know. Okay. If there's no other, Councillor Johnson.
So I probably did have some questions, but just one really is 10.4, the community awards. Just wondering when that information will be circulated, please.
Thank you. I'll go to the director.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. I was just thinking that myself, and it should have been today, and I'll be following that up first thing in the morning. Thank you.
Any other questions, councillors? Okay, if there's nothing else, I will close the agenda briefing forum at 7:49 p.m. Thank you.